My name is Duffy Jackson.
Your given name is Duffy?
No, my given name is Duff, D-U-F-F, because my father named me what you sit on, get off your duff and get a real job. But anyway, my middle name is Clark, for Clark Terry, of course. And Jackson, it's kind of unusual because my mother's maiden name is Jackson also. So I don't know if we're all inbred, I don't know, anyway. But the main thing is I'm a son of a bass player.
So music was part of your life since you jumped out of the womb?
Yeah, my dad used to wake me up when I was 3 years old to play brushes and scat for all his friends at 3 in the morning while they were partying and jamming. And, my dad used to have jam sessions in Chicago when he lived there. In the 50s, he went into television showing the Little Rascal movies, but he used to have a lot of jazz musicians come and jam on the show. I remember when I was 4 years old, my dad was doing the show and I was off camera and Jerry Lewis was being interviewed. And my dad wasn't that knowledgeable at doing interviews, and Jerry, he was trying to make it as difficult as he could for my dad. So I didn't know who Jerry was, of course. I just sensed that he was, making my dad uncomfortable. So I ran on camera and jumped in Jerry Lewis's arms and kissed him and started crying and the whole thing, and it was live TV, whatever. But I reminded Jerry of that. He was just in Nashville, where I live now, doing the Nutty Professor Broadway show that's going there. So, I wasn't able to hook up with him, but I got a message through to him, Jerry was a good drummer too. He could play some drums, But I've had a fantasy dream life all my life, playing jazz as a baby. When I was 5 years old, I had my tuxedo on and I'm on TV with my dad. And this guy's trying to tell me, play the tom-toms and do this and do this. And I said, hey, I'm 5 years old, I know what I'm doing. And it's Gene Krupa trying to give me a drum lesson on live television at 8 o'clock in the morning, And he was a very gracious, loving man. I had the opportunity to talk to him a few times on the phone. But my dad really gave me an opportunity to jam and just feel the vibe of all the great contemporary musicians he was playing with. And they tolerated me for a tune or two, But the thing is, it instilled such a dedication and a desire to just put a grin on the groove and aim the beat at your feet and have some fun with the swing groove. I think the world would be a lot better off if everybody was swinging a little bit more, Everybody needs a musical healing, and that's what I think I'm here at this time. I always felt that I should have been in the 30s and 40s when everybody was swinging, but I'm a non-competitive musician, and I take an ego-less approach to my art, So I couldn't have been in competition with Buddy and Gene and Max Rhodes and all the guys, whatever. But they're my mentors and my inspirations, and being taught how to play drums and music by a bass player, that was a real good timekeeper. My dad wasn't the soloist like Ray Brown or Mingus or whatever, but the thing is, he laid down a solid groove and a joyous groove, The philosophy of the Jacksons is put the grin on the groove and aim the beat at your feet. And that's been my whole philosophy, But I've kind of billed myself as the Johnny Appleseed of jazz with young students, because my dad was a champion of helping younger players, and I feel the necessity to try to do the same. Because if you plant the seeds of groove in people's hearts, I tickle your musical funny bone, then I give you the information you need. And it seems to work out. It's a good formula for me,
So you came up around, did you know that you were going to be a professional?
Oh, yes. I actually got my union card at 802 in New York when I was 8 years old. Max Aarons gave me my union card, And I remember my dad took me to a union meeting and a fist fight broke out like you wouldn't believe over whatever union dues or whatever, I said, is this what happens at union? The Roseland Ballroom, everybody would get there and try and get a bar mitzvah or something, My dad was extra special, man, because he was loved by a lot of the guys. See, one thing about my dad and I, we had 45 years playing together as the only father and son bass and drum team in the swing jazz, And, as I say, my dad had his television show in Chicago and then went into New York at ABC. And I was on that show over 300 times. Now, my first network show was I've Got a Secret when I was 7 years old. My secret was that over the summer, I put my own jazz band together. And I had Glenn Zatola in it, a great trumpet player. He was 12. And I actually have a video I can show you of it, DVD. But the main thing, I just know in my heart that now is the perfect time in our history that I can make a difference with just helping people and enlightening them to an alternative approach of what is being force-fed in the musical entertainment industry today to the masses. And people are starving for the groove that I love to play. Now, I need to know how to market myself a little bit better in the industry, but you know, if you go on YouTube, you know, there's a couple of things you can see that, let me tell you, I graduated Miami Beach High School in my principal's office. I was summoned to his office and I said, what did I do now? My dad was there and my principal comes over and kisses me on both cheeks. Said, Ray Brown needs you at Shelley's Manhole in 2 days to play with Milt Jackson, Monty Alexander, Teddy Edwards, and that's your graduation present, you're graduated. My dad went in my cap and gown and got my diploma. I never took any final exams or anything, and my graduation present was 3 weeks at Shelley's Manhole with all the guys, right? So then I joined Lena Horne when I was 18. Louis Belson got me that job, just on his recommendation. Now, the great part about that is that my father and Lena were actually an item in the 40s before she married Lenny Hayden. And Lena and my dad were on Charlie Barnett's band in the early 40s before he joined Woody. And my dad's birthday was October 25th. And Charlie's was the 26th. So they used to party 48 hours straight. And Lena was with the band at that time. And when I got with Lena, she treated me with so much love. And this was right after her husband, Lenny Hayden, her father, and her son all passed away within 6 months. And Alan King, the great comedian, went to Lena and said, all you can do is get on that bandstand and sing your heart out. And I was her first drummer to play with her after that happened. We did a whole year's tour and everything. And so then my father and I actually went on the road with Edie Adams. Remember her? She used to say, come on and smoke one sometime, you know, whatever. But Edie Adams was married to Pete Condoli, who played lead trumpet in Woody's band with my dad. So here I get to play on a tour with Pete Condoli and my dad, and I actually felt the first Herd Spirit. And we did a couple of tunes where we could stretch out, and Edie was so sweet, and you know, we didn't make a lot of bucks on the tour, but it was just a lovable thing to travel with them. And so then when I was 20 years old, I get the call, and Louis Belson says, hey, I got you the gig with Sammy Davis Jr. And he actually gave me one of his drum sets. I went to Louis' house because his birthday was July 6th, and mine is July 3rd. So we're in the pool, and he was married to Pearl Bailey at the time, and Pearl cooked us a soul food feast, and here I am talking music with Louis in the pool, getting a terrible sunburn and loving it, you know. So anyway, I had to go play a gig, so I get in my van, and Louis gives me a big hug and says, happy birthday, and I look in my van, and he put one of his drum sets in my van. And I drove away crying like a baby. I couldn't believe it. You know, I had Louis' drums and my drums in my van at the same time, right? You know. So anyway, I was with Sammy for 3 years. I actually had my hip replaced and came back. I don't know if you remember that show, Sammy and Company. It was a Sunday night replacement show. I was on the first 50 shows. And the band was great, man. Benny Carter and Sweets and J.J. Johnson and Paul Smith and Al McKibben. You know, we had some superstars in the band, you know. Bobby Bryant and John Faddis played. He had all of Woody's records, and he used to invite me up to his suite and turn on Woody Herman records, you know. We were in Lake Tahoe at Harrah's, and Shirley MacLaine and her whole entourage came on their off night to see Sammy's show. And at the end of the show, we were all invited up to Sammy's suite, and he catered like $5,000 of Chinese, and I definitely ate around 1,000 of it myself. But anyway, so Shirley MacLaine comes up to me and says, are you Chubby Jackson's son? I said, yeah. And says, give this to your father. And man, she laid a kiss on me with a whole bunch of tongue and a whole bunch of everything. And I fell to the floor. I said, you want me to give that to my father? But I never forgot Shirley, you know, she was the greatest, you know. But anyway, I've been treated with a lot of love, and I've had a fantasy dream world with jazz.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm so dedicated. Now, I know I'm a fan of a whole bunch of different styles of music that maybe I'm not going to make an attempt to try and investigate as a player. But the main thing is that I'm a firm believer to give everybody their opportunity to express themselves, man. Yeah.